got a new computer, so it's all about learning right now. It's just...
It stands for Open Broadcast Software.
Oh, thank you. That's good to know. Hey,
yep,
fantastic.
There you go. Yep. See? Educational Tuesday.
Yeah, I like it. I like learning things.
So do I. The only part about Mania that I actually miss.
Right? Well. All those sleepless nights in coffee shops, being incredibly well read and writing all the time.
Oh my God.
Right? Yeah. Like whatever your version of that was. It is. It is, especially when you're in school and trying not to sleep through your classes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh man. It was if I could just get if there was a way you could eliminate some of my more destructive behaviors on Mania. Oh fuck. It was great.
Yeah.
I definitely missed that.
Oh, shiza. I accidentally hit a button, MathPig. I didn't mean to. There we go. Okay. I think we're all right. MathPig, let me know in this chat if we're not. And did the opening stuff start? I could look at my phone and... Oh yeah, this is stupid. I realize that. I do a disclaimer at the beginning of every episode.
Disclaimer?
Yeah, I do a disclaimer about the fact that I smoke cigarettes and they're bad for you. Because it's stupid. But it also helps me manage my anxiety, and I don't want to live forever anyway. I want to live a nice long time and then die before my mom's dementia gets me. That's what I want. That's my goal.
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah, all right.
We always say, I'd much rather burn out than fade away.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you know what? I'm going to bring MathPig in here for a second just so I can hear him and he can tell me what the fuck I'm doing wrong. Because there's something wrong.
Fair enough.
Hey, Robbie, you there?
Right, you brought it in, you started a different stream. Yeah, you brought it in, you started a different stream. It's just run with it. I'm going to try and be a different stream.
How did I do that?
Just keep talking.
Okay.
You're not live. You're not live.
Oh, I'm not live.
You're completely wrong for this.
Excellent. Oh, that beautiful description I wrote.
Okay. Bye.
All right, bye, man. Okay, just to regress to my Catholic past for a second. Holy Mary, Mother of God. What just happened? Okay. Hang on. I don't like this. I don't like... There we go. That's better. All right. Hi, Robert. Apparently, I hit a button and started a new stream. So we're going to just kind of talk for a second while we give everybody a moment to find the new stream. Hopefully they will. I mean, we had 6 viewers, which for me is like... Yeah, we're on, apparently. Actually, yeah, apparently we're live. So I'm looking over frantically at my spouse, waiting for a nod or something that we've... Okay, we're on, and you hear... Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Hey, I'm Julie. Welcome to... Oh, my gosh, that's loud. Loud phone that's now going away. This with me today is Robert Reed, or Tall, Dark, and Crazy, which I love. That's fantastic. So welcome to Wine and Reason. This is the first time I've ever... Oh, thank you. And it's the first time I've ever had a guest on my channel, and I'm so proud and happy. And so in honor of my first guest, I got a special wine tonight. It's called Storyteller. Yeah, because a person I really admire who's often on Secular Sexuality over on the ACA channel, Serafina Smith, likes to say people are made of stories. And I think there's some truth to that. You know, I'm very much into evidence-based, you know, yeah, me too, for everything else. But we kind of build the story of ourselves, you know, and as we go along. So I saw that and I was like, oh, I've got Robert on $15 bottle of wine, because for me that's splurging. Because I'm middle-aged. I drink boxed wine.
Didn't do it.
Yeah, so I can tell you it's very nice. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon, and it's very nice. All right. Oh, and the one more
Well, how about
disclaimer.
this? I will or will not confirm alcoholic beverage in it, so you may or may not be drinking alone.
Thank you.
How about that?
That is helpful. Thank you very much. Yeah, so another
I'm
thing.
not going to leave you hanging.
Thank
I'm along
you.
with you.
This video is age restricted because I do stupid things like smoke tobacco. Don't do that. It's bad for you. It will kill you. And I drink wine and I use adult language because I'm a fucking adult. Okay, so if you're under the age of 18 and you're not watching this with a parent or guardian, I'm going to need you to go ahead and get the fuck out. All right, so there we go. Done. So, so Robert, how are you?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
I'm okay. Incredibly rocky start, but I think
Doing
we
all
salvaged it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm all right.
No,
Okay.
that's it. You're breaking up just a little bit, just so you know, but I can get you. You're breaking up just a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Good to know. Bummer. All right. Well, let me know if that gets worse. Okay. So, I watched. Okay. So, do you want to tell the people a little bit about you?
Oh yeah, sure. My name's Robert Reed. As far as this conversation goes, born and raised in the South. Diagnosed with bipolar mood disorder and obsessive compulsive. Kind of a rocky road to walk on when you're my age and from the region of the world that I'm from. And it was rough. It was actually very rough. And kind of my purpose in terms of my mental health presence online is to kind of help normalize it. Because, I mean, hell, I think about how hard I had it, and you think about the generation before them, they probably, you know, that was medieval type of shit. And so, in terms of this, you know, I just kind of want the conversation to be out in the open. And so, again, we have ribbons for people with cancer, but we still kind of don't quite 100% understand people who live with mental illnesses. And so, you know, just get it out there.
Absolutely. And I completely agree. I am also from the South, born and raised in Kentucky, lived most of my life in Memphis, Tennessee. And yeah, I'm the same way. I have bipolar disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. And I get panic attacks, which are so much fun. But I now finally, it took me until my 30s, I'm 42 now, but it took me until my 30s to get properly diagnosed. And I will say that walking into that therapist's office for the first time was the scariest and best. So I loved what you said. Yeah, I love what you said about your therapist and your psychiatrist in your video. And I'm trying not to, I don't want to spoil too much of your video. It really hit me where I live. So, so you call them a team Reed, I think. Is that right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool. I refer.
You don't want to.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I refer to it.
No,
and
Oh no! You broke up.
It's okay.
Say that again.
I just started laughing because we kept trying to come in on each other because I think there's some lag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And,
about this. Okay. It's kind of. We always. You never wanted to be that guy. To always refer back to his old football playing days and I'll be good, goddamn. We all do it. And so Team Reed is kind of like my coaching staff. I've got a yoga teacher because I live in chronic pain, Pilates teacher. They're part of Team Reed because it takes a lot to keep this thing up and running, be it mental pain or physical pain. And yeah, my psychiatrist and my shrink are. I love her, my psychologist, my shrink, and I'm pretty sure if I didn't know him personally, I'd run my psychiatrist over with my car. But he is exactly what my type of personality needs. When it comes to just the nuts and bolts of shit, I need people just to be bottom lines. That's where I was raised. do that. Just fucking do it.
Right.
Do it. No emotions. And so that's what he's good for. And my shrink is the other side of that equation.
Mm-hmm.
I love them both. I love one, but I need them both, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense to me. I get that. I call it wearing my glasses because, and I straight up stole that from podcaster Eli Bosnick. He had this great story about being in group therapy, and they had a therapist who said, would you tell someone with poor eyesight not to wear their glasses? No. So going, seeing your therapist, taking your meds, that's you wearing your glasses. Yeah, it's a great example. And I've got 20/1600 vision, so that metaphor really stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm legally blind without these. I'm not allowed to drive without them. So yeah, it's so for me.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's a lot. But it's okay. Hey, I this is the wonders of modern technology right here, baby. So it's all good. But yeah, so
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I call it that, and my psychiatrist is awesome. He's a lovely man. One of the things I love about him is he believes in medicating, not too low, but as low as is efficacious. So he never wants to.
Right.
He never wants to, over medicate someone. And, with bipolar disorder, that's something that can happen to us a lot is we get that kind of zombie effect where you're just over medicated. It's happened to me before with a different psychiatrist. So it's like you said in your video, you won't necessarily find, I do like how you picked your therapist. I'm not going to say you have to repeat it here because it's in your video, and there was a link to that in the description. But mine looked like Audrey Hepburn, and I enjoyed that very much. my therapist looked like a young Audrey Hepburn.
Because I told her, really. Number one, congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't want to hype her up too much. I could make A-list actress reference, but it took me about 3 years to finally be honest with her. And I could not look in her eye. I begged for forgiveness before I even said it. Tell her why I chose her. And that's not how I see her now. And the respect is beyond earned. But I was like, my only mission was to drive you away. It was, like I said in that video, it was the conditions of being in the facility I was in. After, I can't remember how long, you had to pick a psychologist and a psychiatrist. I picked the psychiatrist just by that, and this person was in the facility. And I'm just like, she's hot. So,
yeah. At least I won't be looking at something awful for now.
I still kind of feel bad.
I wouldn't. I said, well, at least I'm not going to be looking at someone awful for an hour. I did get a note that you are echoing badly, and they suggested taking out your earphones. I don't know if that will help or harm things, but it's up to you. Going on my end.
Let's try it.
But I got that note from
the
sweetheart over there.
Okay, sir. And can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Now, y'all in the chat, just let Junk Shop know if that's better or worse, and we'll move on. Yeah, so I have a thing. Oh my gosh, when you were talking about being a kid and being manic or depressed and not knowing what that was and how your parents reacted, that resonated with me as well. And I did have this linked in the really nice description that I wrote that I was kind of proud of, but if it's not there anymore, so guys, just type in Stronger with Robert Reed and you can find this video, and it's amazing, and I encourage all of you to watch it. It's really great. It's I really admired how vulnerable you were in that video and how much you were willing to share. And so one of the things that again just struck a deep chord with me was your parents not understanding, and on one level, like, I'm so grateful that my parents don't get it. I've tried to describe it to them, but my dad's never been depressed, in his life. And so he thinks he gets it, but he really doesn't. And bless his heart, you know, he tries. He really tries. And he's very supportive. But yeah, I mean, you know, when I was being a bad kid, so I got punished for that, got spanked for that, and that was just, I think that was our generation. And when you mentioned that therapy waited too, even though obviously I'm about as white as it gets, because we were not rich. You know, we were bedroom. Or I'm sorry, with one bathroom, not one bedroom. We weren't that broke, but we were, you know, things were tight. So, so like, yeah, so there was no, I mean, even with good like government insurance that my dad's job brought in, you know, there wasn't money for therapy. You didn't do that. That was for doctors or whatever, you know, whatever the in the 80s, whoever made the money. It was not us. Yeah, so yeah, that really resonated. And while I understand that, and I don't blame them for that at all, you know, they were, you know, they had 4 kids, and you know, things were crazy and busy all the time, and it's okay. But I think that's part of why, you know, I didn't get the help I needed until I was in my early 30s. And that was not good for me. That was, yeah, I think I would have done a lot better had I gotten help sooner. But it's kind of up in the air because of, you know, I'm 42.
Oh, I would say.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, like, we could be siblings. No, like yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, we all would have been better off if we would have started earlier. But I'm 48, so I'm only a couple years older than you.
Yeah.
We all, I think, this generation would have been a hell of a lot better. So I look at these kids that I've watched grow up for the last 2 decades. I mean, if you fart wrong, you're already in a therapist's office trying to figure out, is this obsessive compulsive, is this schizophrenia? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, you know, stuff while we were, you know, gearing up. And I remember it was our generation, at least where I lived, where we first started to hear about ADD. And I remember it was my generation that heard about attention deficit disorder. It was my parents' generation that laughed at it. And I still remember what they would say when they were like, well, you know, maybe your son or daughter has, you know, attention deficit disorder. And they would literally laugh and say, well, I tell you what, if you beat that ass hard enough, I bet you they'll pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
And it was funny.
Yeah.
And now we know, you know, maybe if your kid isn't sitting still or can't focus or whatnot, they're not being disrespectful. Maybe they actually cannot, just like I want to get out of bed. I just feel like I have a Volkswagen on my back, so I can. Don't ask me why I'm crying, because I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
But our generation, that the diagnosis was one of 2 things. Like I said, that was the diagnosis. The treatment was, I'm just going to beat the shit out of it. That's just the wrong way to go about it. And so our generation would have been a hell of a lot better off if this was a topic of conversation that could have been had in the late 70s and the early 80s.
Absolutely. And just economically, and I mean, mental health wise, absolutely, but also economically, like my older brother has ADHD, but he didn't know that until he got diagnosed, like after he'd been in the Army, you know, I mean, and was well into adulthood and had kids, but he couldn't figure out why. Like, he was trying to go back to school on the GI Bill, and he would tape record his classes, the lectures, and then he would come home and transcribe those tapes. He was working his ass off, but he couldn't focus enough to pass his classes. And he was like, this is just like high school. And I know, and the thing is, he's not dumb. There's nothing that you could talk to him for 4 minutes. You'd know there was nothing, you know, not intellectual going on up there. It's just, so finally, when he was in his 30s, finally got diagnosed, finally got put on Adderall, and lo and behold, got a bachelor's degree, and now has a job that supports his family and that, you know, all that, and has had for a long time. But, yeah, and then as it turns out, you know, one of his sons has it, and we're pretty sure my dad has it. But, you know, my dad was born in 42, so there's no, you know, for him it was the, oh, you're being disrespectful, you're being disruptive. and yeah, so it's just one
Yeah.
of those things. Yeah, but it is frustrating, and I guess the only thing, nootropic meds have gotten so much better, like just in the last 20 years, that because there was a time when
Yeah.
both of us, very easily could have ended up on something like insulin therapy or on lithium and bipolar disorder. But and I do take a second generation mood stabilizer. So it's similar to lithium, but it's an anti-seizure medication that has the side effect of stabilizing moods. So it's commonly prescribed for people with mood disorders. So that wasn't around, when I was a kid. It was my
Right.
fault. That was it. Just like the
Like I'm on lithium now.
Mhm.
Lithium has been a lifesaver.
Oh,
for
awesome.
me.
Awesome.
I'm on 4 different medications, and because of my previous drug use, by that before people go crazy, Vicodin. I'm an old football player, and you would get painkillers just as easy as you would get a Gatorade or a protein
yeah.
shake. And so I got on Vicodin pretty bad for 13 years, and had to come up. And because of my previous usage, he upped all my meds from day 1 to like rhinoceros levels. And one of them was my lithium. I have to get my blood tested to make sure that I'm not going to go any suffer. What is it, like lithium poisoning or something like that?
Yes.
I
Yes.
go get tested like once a month or something.
Yeah, I
But
have to do that
lithium
too.
for me's been a lifesaver.
Yeah, I have to do that too. I have to get my blood
so
levels
see,
checked. It's that's why I said they're in the
These are why
same
these
family.
conversations are so.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in the same family. Mine just
Wait, say
isn't.
that again?
I said our meds are in the same family of meds. Mine's just not on the periodic table of elements. That's pretty much the only difference. But yeah, it's very similar. Yeah, do you have an issue with overheating really easily? Like regulating your body temperature?
Say that again?
Do you have an issue with overheating?
Oh, my body temperature? I'm a salamander.
Oh,
Oh, no.
that's awesome.
Because my gym has opened back up where I work, so you have to get zapped to make sure you're not running a fever.
Mhm.
And the very first day, they weren't going to let me in because they zapped me 4 times, and it never got over 92.5.
Oh, yeah.
And so I have been a snake. I've been a reptile since I was a child. I've always run low. So at this age, no overheating.
Okay. Well, a side effect of
If
my
I'm ever at
med,
98 hot tub,
you're sick.
I'm boiling.
You're boiling, yeah. Well, a side effect of my medicine is that.
Make me weird all the way around.
No, it's okay. We're all different. Side effect of my medicine the one side effect that I really feel is if I'm in even direct sunlight for too long, I start to overheat. I get hot very easily. Like, and I live in the South. It's fantastic. No, so I basically spend summer indoors or, in my car with the air conditioner going full blast. And I'm in my 40s as a woman, so I'm about to start having hot flashes. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be interesting. Okay, so I had
love you apparently.
Aw.
Give you all these gifts.
Yeah, right? No, honestly though, as far as the side effects go, like it could be a lot worse. It could be so much worse. So I lucked out. Yeah. I found a good.
I don't know if mine are side effects or mine is just a result of my medication because, like, I used to be able to go 0 to 100 or 100 to 0 fast,
Mm-hmm.
and now I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, even if someone were to piss me off, I can go from wherever my starting point is, and I can go really fast, but now I'm kind of stuck at 67. Whereas before, I mean, if I was mobile, I'd show you all the patches in my garage where I have put holes in my garage walls. Not proud of it, but it's just the only side effects I can say. I guess these are side effects, but I'm kind of stuck here.
Mm-hmm.
Where I used to be able to go from here, and I'm not even talking about mania or depression. I'm just talking about if you said the wrong thing to me, I could go that way or that way, and it was extreme. And so when I'm staying on my meds, Again, if I'm really pissed off, I can get to a 67, maybe a 70. If I find out something really fucked up and devastating versus falling to belief 0, hover around a 23.5 now. So it just kind of pulled me more to the center, is what my combo meditation has done.
Yeah, mine has done the same, and it's nice. I used to be known for breaking dishes and throwing shit. Not necessarily at anyone, just either near them or specifically I would spin away from them and throw it to break it because I knew, like, I don't really want to hurt you, but I'm so furious right now, I don't know what to do with it. And, yeah.
It's a great attention getter.
That's true. That's true. And my first moment of that I remember,
It's not.
I was like 4 and I did that. And I don't even know what set me off. But I was like 4 years old, and I remember running into my parents' bedroom, slamming the door shut and locking it behind me, and grabbing this pink ceramic pitcher, the old, tchotchke thing, and slamming it against the wall. And then everything stopped because I realized I am about to be in so much trouble. And I just like sat with my back against the door, terrified. And I don't remember what happened after that.
You and I had the same reaction. But for us, like my dad, I mean, I don't know if you can see all of me, but my dad's a big guy. I have my dad's body from the neck down, no question about it.
Sure.
And a beating from my dad, you only needed one. And you remember what it is you fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slamming stuff, shit like that, you learn quick. I may be crazy, but I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
One of those beatings was more than enough. You're like, oh, wow, that really hurt. Okay, don't slam dishes down on the table. So, yeah, we had the same reaction or the same feeling. It only took 1 or 2 before my dad made it very clear. You hold that shit in, because if I see an outburst, it's not going to be a good day for you.
Yeah.
And he was not joking. So,
Yeah, I think my dad.
It's one thing when you are being a regular kid. What's that?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think I benefited a lot from birth order. I'm the youngest, and I'm a girl, and I'm very much a daddy's girl. And so I did get whipped with a belt a couple of times. That did happen, but it wasn't often. And honestly, there's one time where I thought in the moment that he was tearing me up, and he wasn't. He was hitting the bed with the belt right next to me, which is just ingenious because I totally, I couldn't see what he was doing. So I totally thought he was, yeah, and he wasn't.
You thought that was you?
I did. It was brilliant.
I don't know if that's brilliant or diabolically brilliant.
A little both.
Wow. Yeah, I benefited from, because we were close knit, and I think I've got 14, 15 first cousins, but not only am I near the bottom, for whatever reason, I've always been the center. The boy cousins and the girl cousins, especially the girl cousins, have always looked after me. I have no idea why. Physically, I'm still the biggest. I'm 6'3", and I'm 245 pounds, and it's not fat. But even when I go home, I'm still highly protected. And I saw what my cousins did, what my big sister would do. And it was really like, wow, that looks like it's really fucking painful. I'm not going to do that. I remember my cousin lied to she asked my uncle for something. He said no. Then she went and asked my aunt for the exact same thing. She said yes. Except my uncle heard the request. He beat her within an inch of her life. And it's something I will never forget. And I remember him saying, if I say no, she says no.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it works out. And to this, I still remember, like, birth order sometimes helps. Because you see that and it's like, ooh, God, that looks fucking awful. But
yeah,
sometimes birth order spares your hide a little bit.
It does, and my and also my parents were more chill by the time they got married at 23. They had 3 children in diapers by the time they were 25. I came along when they were 35. So they were much more calm. They were more chill. My dad had for the most part, gotten over his PTSD from Korea, and things were just generally more chill. And they had 3 kids in high school and then 1 little one, so they'd already raised 3 little ones.
Right.
So they knew, they knew the mistakes, and they'd learned from them, which was great for me. My older siblings, man, though, they've got some stories. They've got some stories that are just disturbing. I don't want to vilify my parents because they're lovely people.
My ex-wife was like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think but I mean, you do the best with the information you have.
You do.
That's why I said, even in my video, to this day, I still don't hold a grudge.
Yeah, I don't either.
My parents did the best they could with what they had. Now, again, it would be different for me if I had a 13-year-old who was acting the way that I did when I was 13, 14, 15. I would judge myself differently.
Mm-hmm.
I can ask a phone will give me an answer, and then I can call somebody and be like, hey, it's what I saw. But our parents didn't know. I mean, you said your dad was born in 42?
Yeah.
My mom was born in 46.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, fuck me.
Yeah. They didn't know.
They didn't know. They loved us.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They just didn't know how.
Yeah. And that's, yeah. And
if I had a daughter with bipolar mood disorder,
mm-hmm.
I would know how to love her appropriately. If that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
It does, because you would recognize it. You would recognize it for what it was, and you would get her the help she needed. And that's the difference, is they didn't know, they didn't know what it was, and they didn't know why, and also there was a lot of stigma for their generation. My mom had I had a relative on the Robertson side of the family who was institutionalized. And I don't know why. I've never met this woman. She died before I was born. But when my mother was a little girl in the 40s, her mom would go visit this lady, because I think she was like a first cousin or something. And she had to take my mom along because she couldn't leave her at home by herself, and grandpa was at work. Room. And that's where the day patients could just wander around. And my mom saw some shit that scared the life out of her. And so her notion of what it means to be mentally ill is very skewed. And it's skewed by terrifying experiences of being a little girl. And I've heard some of these stories, and they are terrifying. Like, if I was like 6 years old and I saw some of the stuff she did, but it's unfortunate. But yeah, the stigma is a lot. And yeah. So anyway, so moving on from our parents, while we admit that they did the best they could with the information that they had, I wanted to go back really quickly to not even really quickly. Like, I love talking to you. This is amazing. Something you said. You were I think you were at the gym, but it might have been later in the video. I was like typing notes frantically as I was watching your video, because I was a teacher and I'm a compulsive, not saying I'm OCD. I'm just like to take notes. I have to take notes. So I'm not trying to conflate. Okay. So, but your friend Ben asked what's wrong because you were crying, and you said, nothing.
What's wrong?
And I thought, if I had $1, if I had $1 for every time I've lied about that question, I wouldn't be looking so hard for a job right now. So I just kind of wanted to, because it's kind of messed up. Like, it could be a friend, it could be an acquaintance, it could be somebody who's just thought, as always, this is personal, and also, I don't have the time to educate you for 2 hours on what this is right now. I can't deal with what's in my head right now.
Yeah.
So I guess, do you think...
But I think there's also... What's that?
No, I said, sorry, go ahead. I over-apologize. I said, sorry, go ahead, please.
No, I think some of it is, at least for me, when Ben asks, was I okay while I'm sitting on a bench in front of 100 people crying?
Yeah.
I think that some of it is shame.
Yeah.
Right? Again, we're old enough, and I didn't have the personal experience with the institution when I was a kid, but think about all the movies that were at our disposal when we were younger, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's. Think about all the movies that showed you what mentally ill was.
Oh yeah.
They were completely non-functional, staring at a wall, drooling for like 9 hours, just sitting in straitjackets. And so there was a shame to admit even Ben, who's a former professional athlete like I am. There's a brotherhood, there's a kinship to be able to even just say the words. Because back then, I wasn't diagnosed, but just to say, Ben, I feel broken. Right? I mean, he's my size. I mean, how do you tell another grown-ass, huge man, I don't know, I just feel broken.
Yeah.
So I think kind of our gut, or at least my gut instinct, is just lie. I'm fine, or I don't know. And I actually saw, and I'm still learning about the internet, so I think it's a meme or a post, whatever it is, and it's set up like an iceberg. And there's two people at the top that asks this person what's wrong or how you're doing. This person who's dealing with depression says I'm fine. And then under of what fine actually means. I'm struggling. Help me. I hate my. I'm going to get emotional.
Yeah, me too. No, I'm already there.
I'm fine is almost a universal, cry for help with people with mental illness, because it fucking sucks. I mean, it's not what the movies make it out to be. It's not a cute little quirk.
No.
I told my therapist before she went on maternity leave, because we really got hard and heavy to the obsessive compulsive. And I cried harder talking about the obsessive compulsive than I've ever talked about the bipolar portion. It's like, I'll take 2 scoops of bipolar if it meant getting rid of the obsessive compulsive. And then you think about the movies that portray what obsessive compulsive actually is, what they think it is.
Yeah.
And I understand they need to sell tickets, but it's just a cute little quirk. It's the hyper successful guy in the corner apartment in downtown New York. Don't touch me or I can't step on a crack. What they don't show is that obsession absolutely running and ruining your fucking life.
Yeah.
And so again, bring it back. Admitting to Ben that you're feeling broken, I think our self-defense mechanism is just to immediately lie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
How do you tell someone that you don't feel okay?
Yeah. And you were speaking to your experience as a grown man, for me, it's that situation of being a woman, and no, gender is not polarized. It's not saying, but like when if I was at work and having a bad day, there were a couple of other ladies, frankly, who talked about depression and anxiety. And so I told them, sorry, there's a gnat in here, so I'm doing this. There really is a gnat. Anyway, I just told them, like, hey, I said, well, I take my meds, I talk to my therapist, and then if I'm having a bad day, I just leave my earbuds in all day and I don't talk to anybody, because I would have days like that. So there were a few women who knew, if I was outside at the smoking area and I had my earbuds in, they didn't talk to me, and they didn't think I was rude for not doing it. Now, we both grew up in the South, and so there's a lot of if you can't even make small talk, you're being rude or you're being a bitch. And it's frustrating, but also in a workplace in particular, as a woman, you don't want to show any kind of weakness, because then you're hysterical, or you're that woman who can't keep her shit together. And it's getting over that. What I wanted to ask you was, do you think, and I really hope we do, because I get a lot of inspiration from these younger people who are coming up and kind of normalizing this stuff a bit. Do you ever think we're going to get to a place in American culture where having a mental illness is like having, or as you said, we loud cows, but if somebody commits suicide, they're a coward, and it's a horrible double standard. I was wondering about your thoughts on that.
I think the answer is yes.
Yay.
The answer is yes. I don't think you and I will be alive to see it.
That's been my thought.
And that, like I think about, like, again, our generation, excuse me, of people who live with mental illness in their teens and early 20s. I mean, you were still crazy, and I kind of use the word crazy just to own it, but
Yeah.
you were still crazy, or you were the odd person. Today's kids don't have that, and we do a way better job of acknowledging mental illness. But what's going to get us up and over, if you ask me, is respecting mental illness. Because there's one thing that I cannot stand. Because like cancer is real. I've got a friend with cancer right now. I just talked to her, this morning. She's getting her ass kicked. And it is hard to watch it. If anyone can beat it, it's Angie. She's going to be okay, but it is kicking her ass.
Yeah.
And so just imagine if you were having a bad day, or you were pooped, you were tired, and someone was like, hey, what's going on? And you're like, oh, I'm going to tell you what, this out. And you're like, wow, you got breast cancer? I didn't know that. And you're like, no, I don't. It's just the same.
Yeah.
Eventually people are going to call you a bitch. Like, why are you minimizing the severity of cancer? But how many times have you heard, and I know I hear it all the time, I was like, well, I was a little bipolar last night. What do you mean you were a little bipolar? It doesn't come and go.
Right.
This isn't like a little 30-minute, right? You've got moods. You had a fight with your spouse. You had a lovely lunch. Then you had sex because you made up, right?
Yeah.
Or, you throw a gym mat down. And so like, oh, no, wait, it has to be perfect because I have OCD. You're like, is that what you think obsessive compulsive is?
Yeah, that
You're
one
not
really
respecting
gets me.
The disorder. It's no different than the boy who cried wolf. Eventually it loses its fire. And so when people continually minimize the effects of what a mental illness does to a life, to relationships, so again, are people a lot better at recognizing it? Yes. We all need to do a hell of a lot better job of respecting it.
Yeah. No, I completely
Then
agree.
we'll get up and over. So
Yeah.
the next generation.
Yeah. And I hope so. That's what I want for them. Because, people just love to play that card. And it's like, bitch, you're a type A personality. You do not have OCD. If you had OCD, this would be a whole day. My grandfather used to, okay, there's a lot there, but just as an example, he would alphabetize his socks by color. Very specifically in the sock drawer.
Oh, Jesus.
We used to think it was funny. We didn't very quickly, but there was a moment where we thought it would be funny to switch a red sock with a navy blue sock. Oh my God, I thought the house was going to come down. And this was a man who was lovely to his grandchildren. I mean, he was absolutely a lovely person, but he wore a 3-piece suit every day, and it had to be just right. Everything had to be ironed just right. Everything. I mean, once my grandmother asked him to skip mass, Catholic family, asked him to skip mass because she and all 4 kids had the flu, all 4 of them for an hour, and herself without any help. And he said, Catherine, I have never missed mass in my life. And she said, well, there's a first time for everything. And if you walk out that door right now, we won't be here when you get. That man bent enough to skip. Yeah. And so that's OCD. When it affects your, like you said, your relationships, your ability to function, unless everything is exactly the way you need it to be. And and that causes suffering. It causes internal suffering people around you because they're like, why can't you just bend on this? And you're like, because I can't. And it's not I won't, it's I can't.
You can't.
Yeah. And I mean,
great
granddad.
People who hard more than one.
Oh.
Just that if your obsession has either one never cost you a relationship or 2 has never made you cry, then you have a quirk.
Yep.
You don't have obsessive compulsive.
Agreed.
And one of my big things is doors, locks, and windows.
Oh.
And I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
And my morning routine and my big thing is my garage door. I live exactly 8.1 miles away. From driveway to driveway from work is 8.1 miles. I cannot tell you the number of times I've driven 4, 5, 6 miles, turned around, even though I've taken a picture of the fucking door on my phone to convince myself, and crying, hating myself, realizing it's irrational. Because I know once I come back and check the garage door, I know for whatever reason my toilets always have to be down. The lid. I'll go and check my toilet lid. Knowing good and goddamn well it's already down. And you just, then you leave. Then you have to come back. Then you have to check your front door. Well, if you check your front door, it's the garage door. So you open it, then you close it. You have to watch it close. And I can go on for the next 9 hours and tell you the exact same shit I do. And so, yeah, when you minimize my cup can only be on the left-hand side, that's fine. Now, has someone left you, yelled at you, or has the cup been on the left because you hate yourself because one time it was on your right-hand side? And until you start doing that, you've got a fucking quirk. You're nothing like what the movies make it out to be. It is soul crushing.
Yeah.
You don't romanticize it.
No.
Like I said, I would take bipolar twice before I took one scoop of obsessive compulsive. I actually fucking hate it.
Yeah, no, and I not having it myself, I agree. You know, I'm not gonna say that I've made it to 42 without being a little set in my ways, but that is not anywhere. It's oceans away from what you're describing, and yeah, the moment.
But I mean,
No, it's okay.
But I'm just saying, mental illness is mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
Be it if you fought with your spouse at 5 o'clock, at 5:30 y'all had dinner, and at 7 o'clock y'all got a little horny and you fucked the disagreement away.
Mm-hmm.
You go to sleep with a smile on your face. That's called being a human. That happens. We've all had a fight with our spouse or significant other. You're like, you know what? That was kind of stupid, wasn't it? I'm so sorry. The next thing you know, the juices get flowing, and you're in your bedroom filming a porno flick.
And
that's called being a human.
Yeah.
Bipolar mood disorder is something totally different.
Yes.
And so when you sit there and you say, it's like, that's not how it works. You just don't get a little dash of bipolar. That's called emotions. That's called being a human.
Yeah.
You have ability to feel all the emotions, but that's not bipolar.
No, it's not. And that, yeah, that really makes me very angry as well, because I you know, I can know something. It's kind of like what you were just talking about, like about it, knowing that it's irrational. I can know it here that I'm being irrational and that what I'm doing and what I'm saying isn't true. Right? Not in the grand scheme of things, not in a rational way, but it doesn't matter, because I've got this gnawing feeling inside of me that everything is going to burn if I don't make this happen, or if I don't, oh gosh, it's difficult to put into words, like, you know, and then there's the reckless spontaneity of it. I mean, it's a fucking miracle I survived my 20s. The shit that I did in my 20s,
oh, yeah,
just out of sheer, like, somebody want to go, sure, I'll jump in your car, you know. Luckily they were people I knew, and I didn't end up like raped and murdered on the side of the road somewhere. But still, like, you know, I mean, I've tried way too many drugs, like, just because somebody's like, hey, I've got cocaine, I'm like, I've never done that. You know, don't do that. Anyone listening, don't. It's a bad idea. But yeah, I mean, there's just
yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. No, that is absolutely the hit there. And they're even,
you know, the best way I can describe it, and I remember having a conversation in the back of my pickup truck once with a very dear friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
This was before the diagnosis, and I didn't have words for it, but she was the only person that didn't tell me, nah, give me a break. You know, what do you have to complain about? And I remember it was like, this is what crazy feels like to me. Because a lot of people think that crazy is something else. It's like, this is the definition of crazy. It's knowing you smeared dog shit all over your face. people think crazy means you don't know how the dog shit got there. That's not crazy. Crazy is the same German Shepherd took a shit in my front yard yesterday. I'm not going to do okay. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't, okay. He's in my front yard. He's in my front yard right now. Okay. He's squatting. I remember him squatting yesterday. I'm going to say right here. I'm not the front door. Then you're like, okay, he took a shit. He took a shit. Just get a plastic bag, pick it up and throw it in the trash. Okay, I'm walking towards it, but I don't have the plastic bag. Robert, go back and get a fucking plastic. Okay, but this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick the dog shit up with my hand, except I'm going to put it in the trash can. Okay, Robert, it's getting close to your face. Don't smear it on your face. I know you want to smear it on. Don't smear it on your face. You are aware of every step you're taking.
Mm-hmm.
You are just powerless, it feels like, to not do it. And so when people are like, you know you got dog shit on your face, you're like, yeah. Asshole. I know I got it on my face, and I can talk you through every fucking step. And that's what it feels like, you know, like obsessive compulsive. You're like, I know I closed my garage door. And I'm stressing out right now because I want to go and check my fucking garage.
Right?
Door.
Yeah.
And I know it's irrational.
No, but just because you talked about
that blood out of my
it,
head.
completely get it.
What's that?
No, I said I completely get it in the sense that, like, you know, I've been depressed, and yesterday, for the first time, now part of this I can actually use the coronavirus to my advantage here, which is a fucking sick thing to say because 1,000 people in the U.S. are dying daily because of it. But yay, I don't have to leave my house. So I leave my house like once a week to get groceries. We went to get groceries yesterday, and we got back, and I had needed a shower for a while. And I'd rather not say how long, but it was a while. And luckily, something about being outside, I smelled my hair. And I was like, okay, that's disgusting. I'm taking a shower. And that was the moment that kind of broke through where I was able to go take a fucking shower. But before that, I couldn't. I'm like, whatever. I'm in my house. I don't want to be wet. It's weird. And it makes no sense. Like you said, it makes no rational sense. I don't want to be wet. I don't want to be vulnerable and naked in a place where there's a wing and there's a shower curtain and I can't see what's happening. Like that, and that's how my anxiety works, and that's how it, and it does get to a point where I can very easily become agoraphobic, and keeping up with personal relationships is so hard. I mean, I've had so many friends that I have driven. It's mine. Like I've driven them away because, and a lot of this happened before I was diagnosed and before I got a lot of stuff straightened out. But you know, it is what it is. Okay, hang on. I want to get off.
There's one friend in particular.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, you talk. I was just looking for a I'm looking for a quote that you said because it was one of those. There were so many that resonated with me. Oh yeah, so this is the one that made me cry a little bit, but in a good way. So you said, quote, the best thing you can tell someone with an invisible disease, and I'm actually tearing up right now just hearing it. Yeah, because, you know, it's one of those things, and my spouse and I have talked about this because, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, for better or for worse, we both have some similar issues. But the nice thing about that is that we get it. And it's like, and we've said this to each other multiple times, like, I'm sorry that you understand what I'm going through right now, that you've been there, that you can actually honestly empathize. But I'm so grateful that you can, because nobody else in my life. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. All right.
Oh, no.
You got me. You fucking got me with that one, Robert. God damn it. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so that.
Well, just because we've all seen people, you know, pass away from cancer. We've all seen broken bones, colds, and different types of diseases. And when you can put your finger on something, it's a lot easier.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's like I'm just barely, not really in the middle of a ruptured Achilles.
Oh yeah.
Injury.
Ow.
And it's just, I do not look friendly to people here where I live, and no one's ever talked to me when I go make groceries or anything. And again, I can't tell you how nice people are to me now.
Oh, just because you've got the boot on?
And I just went and made some groceries before I got here. And people, I was wearing a Captain America shirt. 3 people were like, "Hey, Captain America." When you walk with a camera, it's easy. And you get sympathy, maybe even some empathy. But you can't see bipolar. You can't see schizophrenia. You can't see anxiety. It just comes across as you being cold. You're being an asshole. You're being a bitch. You're being distant. You can't see a mental disorder. And so, again, I'm sitting here with a former professional athlete, and I don't even have the stones to tell them I just feel broken.
Yeah.
Because you can't see mental illness. And that's what I'm saying. When someone tells you I'm hurting, and then you look and their bones are all in place and they look healthy, and they're talking about a mental, you can't see it, but it like, I mean, I think about I don't know, like my second suicide attempt. I mean, if someone just would have said, you know, I get it.
Yeah. I actually lost a good friend, one of my oldest friends, to suicide 2 years ago. And we had one last dinner, and I didn't realize it at the time. But he was, because he'd just gotten out of a hospital. He'd been inpatient. He was telling me about his plans. He had to go get his dog. So I was like, and he was a veterinarian. So I was like, okay, that's a good check. That's good. Right. And he was telling me about his plans to see his psychiatrist and all this stuff. And I, you know, and then we and then we ate, and then we went out to my car and listened to really funny music and laughed our asses off. And it was kind of like we were in high school again for a minute. And I really thought he was okay. And then it was less than 2 weeks later, and he was gone. And now I realize he was saying goodbye. That's what he was doing. Okay, sorry. But yeah, it's like
It's all right.
Yeah. So you beat yourself up over that, right? Because you're like, you know, what could I have said? But I couldn't have said anything differently. Yeah. Sorry, you talk for a minute. I gotta give me a second.
But that's the thing. That's no. It's that's what I keep saying. That's why I keep going back to like cancer, like my friend, and she looks like someone who has cancer. She's lost weight. She has no hair. She has that kind of, you know, lifeless look as they're pumping pretty much gasoline and DDT through your system. And
right. Hope the poison kills the cancer before it kills you.
With cancer. And we pull for her and we hug her because it's easy to see. And I think about the people I've lost who had cancer, and it almost makes sense, as sad as it is. Something on the inside ate that person up.
Yeah.
But like in your instance, like, exact same story. This guy was in his mid-50s and literally looked like someone who was in his early 30s. He had the athletic ability of someone who should have been a professional athlete. When he got bored, he got on a fixed-gear bicycle and rode from Austin, Texas to Las Vegas, Nevada. The dude was just incredible. He made his first million at like 20. He was rich. He only went to bed with the most beautiful women you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so on paper, perfect life, right?
November, December. 4 months before his 55th birthday, he ended his life in the worst way possible. Right? And looking back and now talking to some, he was dealing with mental illness, right? And it doesn't make sense. But if Paulo had cancer or some other disease, it's sad, but you can make sense of it.
Yep.
You can process that. And it's just mental illness, suicide. It it doesn't make sense because you can't really put your finger on it. There's
Well,
really no explanation.
yes.
That dude passed on probably tens of millions to his daughter. Like, what do you have to be sad about? Which is a stupid question. And then you realize he couldn't not be sad. And
Exactly.
it's like telling me to stop being black.
Yeah,
And it's like,
exactly.
hey, just take your glasses off and get 20/20.
Yeah,
what the
right?
fuck are you waiting for?
No.
And so it's hard to relate if you don't deal with mental illness or if you're not a professional in the field, because when someone who played in the NFL, who owns this home and several others, I've got great friends. I really do. I've got followers on Twitter who check on me to make sure. It's like, what do you have to be so fucking sad about? You know, the days where I can't get out of bed, it's like, I don't know. I don't know. And if I could know, and if I could just fix it, don't you think we all would?
Oh, yeah, right?
We
Snap
all
out
would.
of it. Cheer
If
yourself
if we
up.
could all get rid of it, we would do it in a heartbeat.
In a second. I absolutely
But we
would.
can't. And so for us to get to the next day, we need tremendous support systems, be it our medical professionals,
Mhm.
friends who are dealing with it and can understand, and friends who don't have it but who's like I've never menstruated. Shocking. If a lady tells me that her menstrual cycle is kicking her ass, all I can say is, one, I'm sorry, and two, can I help? I don't know what to do. I don't know what this means. But if you just want me to sit in a room, or I don't know the stereotypes, go get you chocolate or a heating pad,
Sure.
I'll do it.
I mean,
can't
all
relate,
of
but I'll sit in this room and I'll share this space with you.
yeah, and
And it's
honestly,
so different. I mean,
all of
was
that
it
is
3
good.
years ago. What's that?
Oh, I just said all of that is good.
What's that?
All of that is good. By the way, all of it's good. Like we don't even necessarily
I'll
want you
write
to
that
do
down.
anything. Sometimes we just want someone to know. And I gotta say, this might be a hang up of mine because I'm a bit genderqueer. I was always a tomboy. I never liked. I was 14 before I got my first period. I had this vague fantasy that it wouldn't happen to me, and even though I absolutely identify as a woman, it's not fun, and I don't enjoy that part of being a woman at all. So talking to men about it is hard for me, and unless they're men who I know have great relationships with
Sure.
women, and who are genuinely anyway, who I know are like feminists in terms of like they want gender equality, that kind of thing, then it's okay. But I don't like, it's that whole thing about not wanting to show weakness. It's like I don't want with a goddamn menstrual migraine and cramps that are kicking my ass because I'm not going to not show up to work because of that. If I can drive, I will get there.
Right.
And that's to my own detriment on some level, which is irritating. Okay, I'm sorry. Please continue.
But, I mean, it's some way weird we're tying in menstrual cycles to mental illness, but I think it's actually a perfect
It is.
combination because my ex-wife had crazy periods.
Mm-hmm.
And I will spare you the details, but she was very private about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a Labrador Retriever who, let's just say, retrieved something.
They will do that.
The trash can in the bathroom. I had never seen one before. Never. And when I got home from work, it was in the living room.
Oh dear.
I could not believe my eyes. I was just like, okay, if this happens every 28 days, holy shit. And I was sympathetic before. Then I saw it, it turned it up. But basically, again, I will never menstruate. I will never own ovaries. I don't know what it means. I don't know the discomfort. At minimum, I don't minimize the discomfort, the suffering, the misery that comes with having ovaries.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to be a female to have that. All you know is that someone is in discomfort of any kind.
Yes.
And if you don't want to be in discomfort, whether you can relate to that discomfort or not, show that person the same respect. So again, with the mental illness portion, you can have the perfect brain. You have no diagnosed mental illness at all whatsoever. And if anyone's listening to this, listen to this one part. Listen to this one part. If you don't like being in misery of headache, period, stub toe, being broken up with, pick your poison. And if you don't like being in discomfort, and if you want people to be there for you when you're in discomfort, when someone tells you there's a discomfort that you can't necessarily see, just turn that on. Just like, again, I have no idea what it's like to menstruate, but I hear it's pretty uncomfortable. And so if my girlfriend's at my house, says, I'm sorry, and how can I help? You don't dismiss it. Rubbing some dirt on it. How bad is it? Put a cork in it. It can't be that bad. Attitude.
Yeah.
You're a fucking dick if that's your attitude.
Agreed.
And so when someone's saying, I don't know what's wrong, but I feel bad. I can't, do you hear that sound? What's wrong with me? If you do nothing else, just sit in the room with that person. And until they figure it out or go get therapy, help, get institutionalized, at minimum, don't dismiss someone else's suffering, no matter what it is, no matter whether you can empathize with it or not. If you dismiss suffering, you're a dick or a psychopath and you just can't hit, or a sociopath or whatever the path. I'm so bad at this.
Yeah, no, I think it's technically sociopath, but yeah. Yeah, I think it's technically sociopath, people who honestly can't feel empathy. But those people also are not necessarily, just a quick point out, because it's kind of violent by any means. There are a lot who are, but there's a lot who aren't. And it's kind of interesting. I had a professor in college who knew another professor who was a clinical sociopath. And he said he was like, you know, he didn't, what was interesting was what he noticed, my professor noticed about this colleague of his, was that he would always wait to see what the social cues were from everyone else. So he'd wait until someone else smiled before he smiled. It was just like fractional. And he'd learned that. It was all learned behavior. He learned how to, like, someone would tell a joke, people would start to laugh, and then he'd start to laugh. Like, so it was just, but he said the guy was as gentle as could be. He didn't want to hurt anyone. He just honestly didn't get it. Like, on that. So it is fascinating.
But I've been saying this since I was a kid. Yeah, it's half of being smart is knowing what you're doing.
Yes.
Right? So
yes.
If you know you like, again, is everyone laughing? Is everyone sad?
Okay.
If you know that's your weak spot, that's a smart person. So the sociopath that you're talking about is like, yeah, I don't know how, but I know that's pretty much
right.
That to me is a brilliant individual.
Yeah, and he was apparently
that's actually kind of interesting, but yeah.
Yeah, and apparently a fantastic academic at whatever it was. Whatever, I don't know what his field was, but whatever his field was, he was really into it. Okay, so there was something else. I've loved this conversation. Has been so great, and I don't want to keep something else. Okay, yeah. I did. Yeah, that, okay, so talking about the I Believe You, yeah, did that, sorry, looking through my notes. Oh yeah, there's this pressure that I feel, that I also feel, like, we're in our 40s, you're a healthy person, you take good care of yourself. I'm not fit. I'm very clumsy, I've never been great at the being fit anything, and I'm okay with that, but you know, but I keep my cholesterol down, I eat well, I you know, we only eat meat a couple of times a week. I'm trying to, like, you know, we try to be good on that level. And then exercising, I'm not. I've definitely put on quarantine weight that I'm not happy about. However, I will, and honestly, it's part of the mental stuff. It's I get bored. It's part of the, it's like, it's part of how my bipolar disorder very freaking easily. And I don't like pointless physical activity. Like, I would rather clean my house from top to bottom for 6 hours straight while listening to podcasts than do 5 sit-ups. I would rather do that.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I do that enough, but you know, that's what I need an end goal. I need it to accomplish something. Because I know that being fit
Sure.
and exercising, it does accomplish things, but that you can't see it right away. It's that impatient, short-term achievable goal. Okay, and I can clean the kitchen and know that it's done, and that's a short-term achievable goal. So anyway, yeah, just a way of dealing. But so I love to, I tell my nieces and nephews sometimes, the adult ones, you know, when they ask, I'm like, look, I'm a middle-aged smoker, all right? I literally don't have time for bullshit. So get to your point, and I'll tell you what I can, and if you don't like it, take it or leave it, you know, whatever. So there's this pressure when you have, you know, when you live with mental illness, when it's a part of you, and you're trying to do your best, right? You're trying to be active because we know there's efficacy in exercise, and that's the one I'm really bad at. But there's a lot of efficacy for mental health and exercise. And anyone watching this, if you struggle with mental health, please know physical activity can help. Just that. Meditation can help. Even if, you know, you don't have to, you know, you can be an atheist heathen like us, and it's fine. Any kind of meditative state helps. It's fine. It doesn't have to be saying a rosary or some shit. Okay.
Yep.
And then going back to my childhood. And then and then of course all the things we've talked about, you know, there's self-care, there's CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I practice that a lot. I try to do opposite to emotion therapy. Can't fucking leave my couch. I will make myself get up and leave the couch. Sometimes I don't always succeed, but sometimes I do. And when I do, I'm like, okay, good job.
Yep.
You know, you did that. You did something. You know, and that's those short-term goals again. So I guess what I'm asking is, you know, I feel this pressure to perform like a quote-unquote normal person. I don't know what that is. Because as near as I can tell, my brain chemistry has never been normal. And I've also felt that on some level. And maybe I'm being a dick there, because part of me would like you said, if I could flip a switch and not be, I don't know, honestly, actually. Now it's like, I don't know where me starts and the bipolar disorder stops. And I don't know where me starts and the anxiety disorder stops. So it gets confusing on that level. I honestly don't know. I mean, I could do without the depression. But let's face it, the mania can be a little fun.
One,
which is dangerous.
That's a great fucking quote. That's a great quote. Two, I'm probably going to tweet that out and give you no credit at all whatsoever. I love that quote.
I'm fine. It will reach more people if you tweet it.
And you're right. I don't know where. That's beautiful. But I honestly don't know where I begin and the bipolar and OCD begins or ends or either way around.
Right.
But the normal person thing, at least with my personality, it's kind of like my non-belief. Mm-hmm. The moment I got too much my personality, fuck you, now I'm going to do nothing but hit off the gas pedal, and I'm going to run you over with it.
Yes, exactly.
That's kind of been me with the whole normal person. Yeah, normal people versus people living with mental illness. Mm-hmm. I mean, I cry. It's sad. I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to be normal.
Yeah, and I don't have the energy.
There's a magical elixir. And so now I literally wear it on my sleeve. It's on my Twitter profile. I talk about it online. Mm-hmm. And if I hear someone say something disparaging about it, the way I see it, the worst thing you can fucking do to me is not be my friend anymore. Mm-hmm. And the older I get, I'm literally trying to lose as many friends as possible because I'm looking for that one person who's going to be able to pull the plug. That's my true friend. Because this is not going to end pretty. I know this. No one in my family dies just falling asleep with pink socks surrounded by 5 generations.
Yeah, surrounded by fat grandchildren.
Miserably.
Doesn't happen.
And so, I need to know who's going to be that one true blue who, when it's time, be like, hey, what's that over there? Pull the plug and just let me go. to lose friends versus gain them. And so normal people, whatever the fuck that means out of my life as far as I can, I only want the craziest of the crazy in my inner circle because, like I said, that was about 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was Christmas, and I drove halfway back home to Louisiana, and don't ask me what, I just got hit with the biggest funk ever, and I couldn't do it. I could not make another set of holidays wishing I was dead. So I turned around, and I spent Christmas by myself. And my friend Angie called me and was like, hey, I know you're in Louisiana right now. I hope everything's fine. And for whatever reason, I picked up the phone. It's like, no, I'm on my couch and I can't stop crying. I'm still in Austin. I don't think I hung up the phone before she walked through that door, and she literally spent 2 days. Just say 2 words. She just, you okay? Okay. You all right? Okay. That was it. And I don't want normal people around me. Yeah. I want people who understand what I'm going through. In return, I'll, pay the respect back because Andy has similar issues. Mm-hmm. And I guess to kind of answer your question, long story short, I don't want normal people around me. I don't want to relate to normal people because normal people are the ones who are going to tell you, get over it. Yeah. Just start being happy. Yeah. Half the holes in my garage that I patched up, I was dating a girl, and I don't know, we were in my kitchen, I'll never forget, I was having a very, very dark day, and she was tired of it. And she straight up told me, why don't you just be happy? I lost it. I touch her. I'm not Ike Turner.
Thank you. Didn't think you were, but that's good. Yeah.
I intimidated the shit out of her. I'm not going to lie. This was before meds, so I went straight to 100. I went to actually 120. And after she left, I went to that garage and I fucked shit up. It's like, I don't want people around me who are going to tell me to just be happy. Or when I'm manic, why don't you bring it down a couple notches?
Why don't you speed it up?
I don't want people around me. They fucking annoy me.
That's
just like I annoy them.
Yeah, no, two things. I want to commend you for that because you again, it's what we were saying about, yeah, we know when we're being crazy, but you had the presence of mind to understand that, she didn't get it, but you had every right to be angry because everyone who has ever said to me, you just need to cheer yourself up or you need to snap out of it. Like, fuck them. If I could, I would, bitch. That's the point. Okay. But third, and I totally get why you took it out on your garage. I get that. I think that, and good choice. Because, yeah, but like, and God damn it. And thirdly, I just want to quote, my girl, Carrie Fisher here. And just say, like, no, why are you all going so slow? Come on, you guys. Yeah, it's that's what it's like when you're manic. It's not that, I remember the last time I was manic, and what happened was some friends came to visit, and I hadn't seen them in 5 years, and we were tight. Like, we've been friends since I was in high school. We'd gone through college together. We'd gone through divorces together, losing parents together, all kinds of shit, right? We'd been through it. Like 5 to 10 people who knew you when you were really young that you still want to know, right? Yeah. So they came to visit, and they were like, yeah, and they stayed a night they were here for like a week, and then they said, hey, we're all going to meet up at, that we all know, the Young Avenue Deli. Just shout out from Memphis, Young Avenue Deli. And they just put that on their Facebook thing. And we're like, hey, anybody wants to come by can. Well, it was just this great, it was like a reunion, but with people you actually want to see. So it was awesome. Like, and I just, I was so happy. And it did kick me into a little bit of mania. Now, I wasn't doing anything crazy. I wasn't like, I wasn't, downing shots, 5 shots in 5 minutes. And I was like, I was fine, but I was so happy and excited and manic that people kept asking me, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And finally, I was like, "God damn it! Yes, I'm fine. I'm very excited." Because when was the last time we were all in the same room?
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you as excited as I am? And
I've been there.
yeah, and it's just kind of, it's like, you
It's
know.
the people.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said you will never have to explain yourself to your true friends.
Yeah.
Right before, if someone puts a tweet out to my 5,300 followers that I kicked the shit out of Bubba, the people who really know me will delete that tweet. I will never have to explain, die, before I hurt my dogs.
Mm.
My true friends
Oh, I'm
don't
sorry, I
need an
didn't know.
explanation
Okay.
on anything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And so I've been there as well. The people, in my case, like my cousin Paula, we are like this. We are the exact same person. And we're so tight, and I'm not making this up. We got into a fist fight at a funeral. Someone was threatening our family. I lie to you not. That is a
Dude,
where
I'm
I'm
Scottish.
from,
We
there are
could be
two
related.
major black families.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Fucking awesome.
There's the Leonards, and then there's the Flemings. I'm a Leonard by
Nice.
blood. That's my mom's side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And really long story short, really bad.
Mm.
My cousin Paula responded. They took a
Mhm.
swing at my cousin Lamont. Now, if you don't like Lamont, you don't like yourself. Lamont has not a single enemy on the planet. So when they took a swing at Lamont, she took a swing at them, at her, and then they swung at Paula. No one hurts Paula. While I'm alive, you say yes. All I ever want to hear someone say about my cousin Paula.
Right
So
on.
that's how close we are. Long story
Yeah.
short, around my cousin Paula, I'm never happier.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one person I don't have to explain my moodiness to. When I don't sleep for 4 days, they call me by my middle name, and if we're out, it's like, what's wrong with Chris? He's like, leave him alone. Leave him alone. We're gonna go, downtown New Orleans. What? Chris is still in bed. What? Just leave him. Matter of fact, y'all go. I'm just gonna stay.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been. It's that one person or that group of people
Yeah.
that you don't have to explain yourself to, and it's such a relief.
Yeah.
That no matter you're manic, you're moody, you're depressed, when you're around that person or that group of people, who it's suddenly explained
Right.
why you are the way you are. And so it's like when I'm with Paula, the world just stands still. Because no matter what I'm going through, one, she understands, and two, she'll defend me. She's half my size. She comes up to she's not this big hulking figure, but, and I'm older than she is. And if someone, what's wrong with Chris? She's more than likely to say, that's going to be the last time you say his name.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you back away? And so when you're that high, because no matter what, and I tell people the worst part about bipolar mood disorder is not knowing which version of yourself you're going to wake up with.
Yeah.
Especially when you're unmedicated.
Yes.
I have a really good friend here in Austin who I almost killed that friendship. I really did. And I worked.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's still in my life and it's tight. And I remember telling her, the worst part about this was not knowing which version of myself I was going to give to you that day.
Yeah.
One day I'm going to say, Red is the best thing on the planet. And we are. Her husband is an angel. Right? Everyone in Austin thought me and this lady were having this rancid affair, and no, we're just that fucking close, even. But at least before COVID shut the city down.
Yeah, but
right?
at least your mayor's being smart. Oh, I'm sorry.
What's that?
I just said at least your mayor is being smart. Memphis opened up way too early, and now we're just swamped with
Yeah.
cases. Yeah. So sorry to derail. I do want to hear more about your friend though.
We're
Yeah.
we're kind of screwed ourselves too. But it's again my point. Being around those people who understand,
Mm-hmm.
and again, you don't know. Even when medicated, I can't promise the person you're talking to right now is going to be the person you talk to at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And be it Paula, be it Red, or the people who really, saw you at your deepest, darkest, or who saw you at your highest of highs,
Mm-hmm.
or your middle of middles, and they're there for you anyway. And those are. I've always said, no matter what the movement is, be it women's rights, mental health, we physicists joins the fight.
Yes.
Right? Black people won't get anywhere until white people join in and say, you know what? When a woman says, you know what? I have a master's degree just like him. Why does she get $70,000 a year and I get $67,000? And
Thank
until
you.
the guy says, that's fucked up. Give her the same fuck. Until then, blacks are just a bunch of complaining niggers. Shut up, you should be happy. Until pay her the exact same money, y'all are just a bunch of bitches.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up, he's a man, he's got a family to feed.
Right?
Until
Like I don't.
normal people join in and say, hey, you know what? They can't stop their emotional state.
Mm-hmm.
Let's cut them some slack. We're not going to make it until the normal people join in, if that makes any sense.
No, you're absolutely right. It makes complete sense.
We need them as much as they need us.
Yeah. No, it makes complete sense because it wasn't.
What's that?
No, it makes complete sense. Because you are absolutely correct. And I got to say, like, women's rights and civil rights have always gone, in our country at least, they've very much been hand in hand. Like there's always been like y'all supported
Absolutely.
women, white women included, and the civil rights for black people, and that is something that, like, if you know nothing else about American history, which is just sad, you need to know that. And honestly, I've been listening to you and Cynthia McDonald and Mandalisa Thomas, and I have learned that even though I live in a majority black city, and even though I went to a incredibly well represented in terms of black students university, the University of Memphis, and I was a history minor, the history was still totally whitewashed. I mean, every time Cynthia opens her mouth and says a historical fact, and I look it up, I'm like, how did I not know this? It's so disturbing because honestly, it's that silence is complicit thing, but also it goes back to the just ignorance is the start of all of it. Of all racism, of all just not understand, because people think that I know lots of white people who are like, whatever, they have the same rights we do. And I'm like, no, they don't. Not in practice, on paper. But you gotta look at what's happening. Yeah. They're not executing me in the street. When I get pulled over, cops don't search my car. Me down in inappropriate ways, and they sure as shit don't threaten my life. And that's the privilege that I have. And it's like, you know, we have to understand that. You know, let's face it, in the U.S., in the U.S., when racism is perpetrated, it's almost always white people being horribly racist to black people. So if I don't stand up and tell people that's wrong, don't do that, then what am I even doing here? So, you know, so thank you for saying it, because I do want to uplift black voices. It's not about speaking for people, it's about speaking with, I think, is how it should go.
Yeah. Neither, like I said, no movement gains traction and joins on. And I'm glad to hear it, and thanks. And two, I think I've done 2 talks with Cynthia.
She's awesome.
Holy shit. I think I would listen to that woman read the Yellow Pages.
She is so brilliant.
And I was like, our second one we did about 10 minutes in the pregame.
Mm.
And the talk was so good. I was like, when we started, I didn't even said it. I was like, can I just kind of shut the fuck up and listen to this lady talk? She is beyond brilliant. And I was like, I'm just here for the heavy lifting. Just listen to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. She's great.
She knows so much. And I'm like, how did I never know this? And then I realized, well, there's all this, you know, prejudice and stacking in the textbooks and in the curriculum. Yeah. So honestly, everybody, if you haven't heard of Cynthia McDonald, please check her out. I am going to ask if there are any questions.
Look her up. She is
look her
incredible.
up. Cynthia McDonald, spelled just the way you're thinking. It's awesome. She is amazing. She's on the Daily Atheist show, morning show, the Damn Show, Damnation, on Fridays, I believe, on Friday mornings, and she's on other things too. She's on the Your Friendly Neighborhood Atheists roundtables. I know at least one day a week, if not more often. So check her out. She is amazing. She is a brilliant woman, and she's freaking awesome. Okay, so oh my gosh, my brother is in the chat. Hey, buddy, I love you. This is my brother. Okay, just to say, my brother is a Christian. He's very much a born again Christian, and I didn't know that he watched my show. But our name is very unusual, and he's lovely. We are very tight. We were talking about menstruation earlier. He's the first person I ever told. 8 years older, but that's how close we are. And hi, Michael, I love you. That's amazing. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Michael.
Hey. Yeah, that's awesome. I just saw his name pop up. Okay, so I'm going to try and see. I'm sorry. I'm dealing with with screen issues, space issues. I'm going to see if anybody, hi to everybody. Sorry I didn't call out anyone. We were having such a great conversation that I got all enthralled. But if anybody has a question for Robert in particular, just please at Junk Shop Library. That's my partner. Please add him. At them. Excuse me. My gosh, I just missed. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, yeah, my spouse is non-binary, and it's kind of a new thing, and sometimes I fuck it up. Okay, so love you. Okay, so yeah, there's my brother's in there. That's crazy. They're talking computers.
All right.
Yeah, my brother just said, yeah, I think it's a bandwidth, or Junk Shop said at my brother, I think it's a bandwidth issue, but yeah. Yeah, so be nice to Michael LaVoice in the chat, y'all. That's my brother. Don't be mean. He's a good one. Yes?
The only question we've got from the chat so far is, does Robert speak French?
Oh, okay. The only question we've gotten so far is, do you speak French, Robert? I don't know why. Je parle le français.
There are terms that I understand because my family's from southern portion of Louisiana, but do I speak it? No.
Yeah, so the patois didn't even quite, yeah. I studied it in school hoping it would partially be genetic because my dad's slightly French, but no, it's not, and I suck at it. So I can mimic the accent. That's all I can do.
Yeah, I'll say this. Like when my uncles talk, it's kind of a 70% English, 30% broken mutt-like French.
Patois, yeah. Way.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So when the dinner hits the table and like say, well, I'm like, oh, it's fucking delicious. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
But do I speak it? No. But all the phrases that I grew up with for the first 20 some odd years of my life, yeah, it's just kind of mixed into. Their English isn't even really English.
Right. Yeah, it's like the
small town Louisiana. You throw that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the French English equivalent of Spanglish. You know, it's kind of like that. It's but yeah, I've been to New Orleans many times, and I love it. It's a fantastic city. Of course, I've only been there as a tourist because, because I live here. I couldn't afford to live there.
It's a
But
beautiful place.
it is beautiful and awesome people. And oh my God, the food. Anyway, okay. I'm going to stop there
Yeah.
with the food because I'll go on. So, okay. All right. Yep. Yeah, my spouse and my brother are talking. I don't know what's going on, but that's amazing. Yay. Good for you. Enjoy each other. Paul asks, Paul Kamish. Hey, this is a friend of ours from England, from the UK. And he asks, wait, no,
Hey,
he's not
Paul.
asking a question. He's just making a statement. He says, yep. What's up? Oh, you got one? Thank you.
Jur asks, why did Robert get into teaching women's self-defense?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, Robert. Aunt Jur is asking why you got into teaching women self-defense, which was actually my very last question for you. So thank you, Aunt Jur.
Oh, wow.
And also thank you for doing that.
Several reasons. Probably the one that I can say on air was I've been doing this for about 24 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I've climbed the ranks pretty fast. I'm a 7th degree black belt in Kaji Kimbo, a 6th degree black belt in Shinju Matsu, and a 2nd degree black belt in American Kimbo. And it really fucked with me, especially on my 1st degree black belt test. I really found out I'm really good at doing something very, very bad. Right.
Okay, you have to
In my
explain.
system, the last 2.5, 3 hours, just you fighting for survival. And I was beating people up. It didn't make me feel good. If that makes any sense.
No, it does. That makes sense.
And to balance out what it is I can do, I thought I would teach others how to do it. And then I realized there's a portion of our society that's perpetually victimized. And that's when I went into women's self-defense. I do not teach men how to fight anymore.
Thank you.
I don't. And I got into it because I realized from some stories at work, women need to learn how to fucking fight. And I'll tell you what it is I've told the women that I've taught. Ladies, that they can ever learn from me. My eyes have been opened in a way that I cannot explain. Right? There's one lady who and I'll make it quick.
Please.
One of my last, I do one-on-ones mostly, but there was a seminar of a physical therapist. And one of the physical therapists, her entire body was the size of my thigh. She was tiny, and she loved to run. But she works full-time, so the best time for her to run was first thing in the morning. Now, I'm 6'3", 245 pounds, and I'm an insomniac. And especially when my old Jack Russell was alive, I would just put him in my car. We would go to town late at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and we would just walk. He was in a wheelchair, actually, and I would just push him.
Aww.
For her to go for a jog, she would call her boyfriend when she woke up. She's like, I'm at the trail. It's now 5:45. Okay, I've warmed up. It's now 6 o'clock. I'm going to go for a run. If you don't hear from me by 7:15, my mom's in your emergency contacts. Call my mother. Call the cops. I've been murdered or raped. That's a vision that I don't have.
Yeah.
At 2 o'clock in the morning when I don't sleep, I'll just go walking around my block. I don't think 2 times about, hey, I'm this large black guy with lots of muscles and I know how to fucking fight. Hey, if someone jumps me, someone call. I just do it. But when you're 5'2" and you weigh 105 pounds and you're a woman, these are things that you have to think about on a daily basis, on a second-by-second basis. I just walk from the grocery store, to the grocery store to my car. I have to be on the lookout all the time because someone can just pull me into their car. And so I teach them how. Long story short, I don't like what I can do, and so to make myself feel better about it, I teach it to women because if you just look at stats, women are way more likely to be victims of sex crimes and violent crimes than men.
Yep.
So I pass this information on to people who need it. That's why I did it.
Well, I can't.
And it feels good at the end.
Yeah, right?
They seem to love it.
Well, I can't speak for all women, but I do want to say thank you so much because a lot of us have survived violence and sexual assault, and it's not fun. And there is something in realizing that, at least for me, and I'm not going to go into detail here, but there was a moment when I realized this person is going to kill me. And I've done everything I can do to stop that. So what I did was I faked it. I did a full, like, I was being choked, and I did a full, like, I was starting to see black at the sides of my eyes, and I knew I was going to be out soon. So I kind of shook a little bit, basically the way you see in movies. I didn't really know what I was doing. And I made kind of a noise. I couldn't really make much noise because, and then I just went limp. And he let go and walked away. And that's why I'm still here. And it's one of the most fucked up moments in my life. But at the same time, it made me realize I have no power here. And don't get me wrong, I tried. I clawed at his arms. I kicked him as hard as I could, right in the balls. Nothing. Didn't even flinch. And nothing worked. So I made him think that he had done what he was going to do, and he wandered off, and I'm still here. So, but I also want to thank you because good dads out there, take a cue from my brother and from this gentleman right here, Robert, have been through martial arts training. Because of my brother. He insisted on it, and I am so happy. That was such a great decision, and if I haven't told you that before, Michael, now you know. I always loved that you did that. Okay. Well,
The best part about my system is, what's that?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, no, the best part about at least the martial arts that I study is there is no sparring. It's literally fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people all the time, you don't know what you'll do in a certain situation until you're in it.
That's true.
And please tell me to shut the fuck up if I'm going too far. But I still remember one of the first ladies. She just wanted, it was 2 minutes. It wasn't even a full session. And I put out all the mats. She's known me for a long time. We were friends. She knew she was safe. Lights were on. It was the middle of the day. And I simply made her lay down on the mat. And I said, you've got 2 minutes to get away from me. Spare you the details. Let's just say she couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Within 45 seconds, she started crying. I killed everything. And we both sat in a corner of the room and we just cried together. And it's one of those moments, it changed her, and it definitely changed me. I didn't anything like that.
Yeah.
And I still remember when we both kind of calmed down, and I was like, Amy, are you okay? Let me get you some water. Let me get you a cold towel. And she just said, I now know what helpless feels like. Let her. Would you try to move her hips? I wouldn't let her. And it sucked. And I still do that today, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'd much rather you feel uncomfortable with me, because I can direct you to a counselor. I know judges. I know lawyers. I know people who can help you. But I'd much rather you feel uncomfortable with me and get used to it than it happen at a bar or something, and you don't know what this is like. And it's that, and that's what the best part about my system is that we train real time with real intensity. So if you ever get in a shitty situation, this isn't the first time. Because more times than not, and it's nobody's fucking fault. Let me say that out loud. It's nobody's fucking fault. But a lot of the times, the first time that adrenaline hits, a lot of times it's people's first time feeling the adrenaline. It's not a strength issue. It's not a skill issue. It's holy shit, I've never felt this before issue.
Yeah.
And that's what we do in my system in Kaji Kimbo. And so, again, I don't like it, but I'd be like, I don't even know what to call it, success stories.
No.
But I've had ladies come back and tell me, I got jumped on a subway, this happened or that happened. And if nothing else, I just remembered to breathe. And it made a shitty situation a little less shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if any ladies are out there listening, I don't give two shits if it's Taekwondo, Kaji Kimbo, Aikido, Tai Chi, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, Kimbo, American or Chinese style, Hungar, Wing Chun. I can go on for fucking ever. Enroll in a martial arts class. Enroll in a martial arts class because on whatever percentage chance that it happens to you, and I'm knocking on wood, I don't even believe in luck, your back pocket so that you can fight back, you can rip his fucking dick off, you can gouge his eyeballs out, you can kick the shit out of that person who's trying to hurt you. Doesn't matter what kind it is, start today. If I can say anything, start today. Learn how to fight today.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And that is that's the big difference. Is what you were talking about, that first moment. It's so surprising because I was raised by a good dad.
Yeah.
So I'd never been abused. And so when the first time I realized I can't do jack shit about this, I was paralyzed by that feeling. And so you're absolutely, I think there's a certain level of, and neither of us are professionals, y'all. We're just speaking to our own experience, but there's a certain level of exposure therapy that I think is useful in that moment because, frankly, as women, you're rock at 2 a.m. I laughed. I just laughed my ass off when you talked about that because I was like, I would never do that in my neighborhood. And I don't live in a particularly bad neighborhood. But I wouldn't do that. Hell no.
Right.
It's like we have to live.
These are the things that people like me.
Yeah.
I go to the gym now because my gym opens up at 5 a.m. because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
To this, I still don't even think about it. I get in my car, I drive. It's 3 miles away from my house, and I just walk into the fucking gym.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think twice about. I don't think about that.
Yeah.
I'm huge. If I say anything about myself, I'm a little bit bigger than average. Even if I don't know how to fight, I look like I know how to fight. But if you're 5'2" and 110 pounds, that people like me, it just doesn't. Like I said before, no movement gains traction until its antithesis joins the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Idea what it's like to be a small woman. And I will never know what it's like to be a small woman. And so when a small woman or a woman period tells me, Robert, I'm afraid to go to the relationship to life. So all I can say is, I believe you. Now, please tell me how it is I can help.
Yeah.
That's it. It's listening to the other side. And so like, I'll never know what it's like to have certain experiences. All I can do is say, I believe you. Now, how can I help?
Yeah.
And even if help just simply says, I hear you, that, in my experience, that's the first 105 steps.
Mm-hmm.
It's just simply telling someone, your experiences are valid.
Yes.
I understand why you won't go to the grocery store by yourself. I understand why you won't go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why you make 77 phone calls to your boyfriend while you're jogging. I'll never relate, but I understand it's real. Your experiences and your emotions are valid.
Yeah. And it's very frustrating. And
that's all I can do for someone who can't.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about you're not victim blaming, you're not blaming anybody because we don't. Yeah, I don't do that either. But yeah, why would you? It's like that's insane. But and I actually prefer the term yeah, but people do it. They absolutely do. They're like, what were you doing there at that time of night? Why were you wearing that? Why were you? I mean, it's just we saw it happen. yeah, I mean, we see it happen all the time, and it's so couldn't matter. And my thought is, how about we stop teaching our girls how to police their own lives and their own activity, and maybe teach our boys how to treat women. That might be better. Just to throw that out there, you know.
Yeah.
And
I said this to people before because I've had that conversation of what was she wearing. It's like, you know what? How about this? Why don't we not teach women how to dress? Why don't we teach boys how to act?
Thank you.
If a girl are sexy or whatever the fuck, if she wants to wear a skirt 5 inches from her vagina and a low cut shirt because it makes her feel good, fine.
That's her
Fine.
business.
Don't tell her not to wear it. Tell your son to keep his dick in his pants and his hands to himself.
Yes.
How about that? To me, it's
Yes.
no different than Cheers. Like when I see those videos, I saw one today and I talked about it. When, you know, some white person is having mentally ill and they go up to this black couple who's simply enjoying a walk on a park. You're a nigger! You're a fucking nigger! Nigger, 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 nigger! And the black person's like, you know what? I just don't feel like being a nigger today. And they punch the shit out of the racist. And people say, well, why did you hit him? And I'm like, is that what you saw? Why don't you tell a white person to shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
Because how about this? I tell people this all the time. I don't want to be called a nigger. You want to eat solid food tonight. I think that's an even trade. I'll keep my fist in my pockets if you keep your mouth shut. It's what happened to her. Don't tell her how to dress. Tell those boys, don't tell the street out and not a goddamn thing happened to her. Don't tell her how to dress. Tell those boys, don't touch her.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's no different than the white dude. Tell the white dude, don't call the black person a nigger. It's a fair trade. Because in all my life, you'll never guess what. I never punched a white person who called me by my name. Never. When you call me Robert or when you call me Chris, I'm going to say hello. When you call me nigger, it's going to hurt my feelings. What happens after that is what happens after that. So yeah, I've heard that shit too. It's like, well, what was she wearing? Why did she go to the apartment and making out with them?
And
all those things you just named did activity. It just did it. She can kiss you all she wants.
That's right.
Kissing does not mean fuck me.
That's
Dressing
right.
sexy, and I put that in air quotes, dressing sexy does not mean fuck me. Being nice to you, flirting with you, none of that is consent to sex. Only is consent to sex.
Yes.
And enthusiastic consent. Because if I'm holding my fist over Susie's face, and she says yes, that's called intimidation.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yep.
Now I'm in self-defense mode. Sorry.
No.
I get really pissed off all the stories I've heard.
I know, and that's the thing. Like Junk Shop tells me the same thing.
And enthusiastic consent.
Yes.
It's like the God proposition.
Yeah. I mean, but like
you love me, right? You love me? You love me? Because if you don't, you're gonna burn in hell forever. That's not a choice.
No, it's not.
That's not a choice. Right. And if I tell Susie Q at 6'3", 245 pounds, you're gonna let me fuck you, aren't you? Aren't you gonna let me have sex? Wait, what? You're not gonna say no, are you? Are you gonna say no? That's not a choice.
No.
That's why the word enthusiastic has to come in front of the word consent.
Mm-hmm.
Because Susie has.
Yep.
Otherwise, that's not actual consent.
And
it's just not. And if she's drunk, in any way she's passed out, if her metabolism is altered, you can't do it. You can't do it. Sorry. Even if she says yes after 900 beers and 6 shots, put your dick back in your pants and go jerk off at home.
Yo.
It's not worth the possible rape charge.
No, it's not.
I don't even know why this is a topic of conversation. I can't believe
now. I know. It's insane that we're still talking about this. It absolutely is. But you're right, and it happens to some. I mean, the first time I was sexually, it's gonna be like, what? Calm down, put your gun away. All right. So The Southern Brothers. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, the first time I was sexually assaulted, I was 19. I was at a club. You know, we weren't drinking because we were underage. And I was wearing a really fucking cute dress that I could pull off when I was 19. I couldn't pull it off now, but when I was 19, I could pull it off. And this boy danced at me. You know what I mean? Like this guy, he just danced at, like, not my,
Yeah.
I don't mean to be mean or nasty, but he was not pretty. Not my type. Anyway, but he danced at me, and my girlfriends, we were just going to go out and dance, but they'd all done that, like, hey, one of us has to pee, so 4 of us are going to go together thing. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'll stay here. You know,
yeah.
so I was dancing. This guy dances at me, and before I know it, he shoots his hand under my skirt. And I was so surprised because, again, I grew up around gentlemen, you know, and so I was so surprised that I literally walked right off the dance floor and sat down because I didn't know what else to do. And I didn't report it. I don't even know if I told my friends that night that were with me. I don't even know if I told them about it. It was just so bizarre. I was like, why would you think why would you think that is okay? There is nothing okay about that. And
Entitled.
yeah,
I
exactly.
would say entitled.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
bullshit.
White cystic acne guy, totally way too entitled for himself. And the sad thing is, we were just talking about size. He was tiny. I mean, I'm not huge, but I've got muscle. I had 2 brothers. I likely could have maybe at least slapped the shit out of him or punched him in the face. But I didn't because I was so shocked. It's like we were talking about with teaching
Right.
women self-defense classes. It just, I'd never been treated that way, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So yeah, it's, you know, but yeah, it's out there and it's a thing. And this might be like the second time in my life I've ever even talked about it because frankly, it doesn't rate that high, which is sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I'm not trying to be like a big downer. Everything
don't
you said was so
understand.
empowering. I don't want to take away from that.
No. One thing I'm going to say, what I don't understand, and I hope there's certain mindsets I never want to understand.
Yeah.
One of them got me kicked out of my group therapy session because someone said something, and let's just say I lost it. There's certain mindsets I don't want to understand.
I agree. There's a couple
That's
for
one
me
of
too.
them.
Yeah.
To where you feel that, again, I don't care what she's wearing, I don't care what she says, to take something that's not yours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that mindset. And
Like,
I remember in college, and this was long before I got my first black belt or even took a martial arts class.
mm-hmm.
It was 1994. It was my junior year in college, and we had just kind of hired a life skills counselor. You had an academic counselor. You had all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Miss Irma was giving this talk. And it was a very important talk because the life of a Division I college athlete is different from kind of your regular student.
Mm-hmm.
You've got access to things,
mm-hmm.
restaurants, bars, girls, boys, that kind of the average person doesn't have access to. I'll never forget.
Yeah, I taught college for 14 years. I know a little bit about what you're talking about.
Access.
Oh, I just said I taught
What's
college.
That?
I taught college for 14 years, so I know a little bit about what you're talking about. But they also hold the athletes to a high academic
and I remember
standard. I'm sorry.
Oh,
at Memphis, yeah.
Different.
Yeah, but it's different.
Said that if you touch someone while they're drunk or high, and they don't give you consent, kind of congratulations, you just raped her or him. And I remember thinking 2 things like, that's good advice. And then I literally turned around to my teammates, and I was like, who the fuck just learned something? And they're like, wait, do you actually have to teach someone that just drank themselves unconscious and you put your dick in them?
Yeah.
Did you just learn? Who? And like I said, that's a mindset.
Either.
Because even before I heard the stories from my self-defense classes, even before, like I said 30 minutes ago, basic empathy. I've never menstruated, but I hear it's uncomfortable. I don't like being uncomfortable. That's all you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
I've been beaten up, but I've never been sexually assaulted. I assume it sucks. I've never been raped. I can imagine that it sucks, so I'm not going to do that to somebody else.
Yeah.
And so if I'm drunk as shit and I wake up and my backside is sore and bleeding, I can imagine that's going to be really, really bad. And that's the end of the story. So if I can imagine that on myself, another person. And so when Miss Irma said, if she's drunk, if he's drunk, and they're passed out in your dorm room, and you do something second to crime.
Yep.
I'm like, who just learned something?
Mm-hmm.
Did you actually have to write that information down?
But
and
we
if you
do.
did, I don't want to understand your mindset.
Yeah,
I don't want to understand the mindset of someone who has to be told, don't sexually violate another person. How fucking hard is that to understand?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's disturbing.
I just don't get it.
But it's true. I don't either. But again, like having taught college, I did have students who thought that like that basically alcohol was lube or something. I don't know. They would legitimately. I've taught young men who tried to make a case for legitimately like getting a girl drunk enough so that they could do whatever they wanted to her. That's an unconscious person or somebody. I don't care.
Close.
I don't care if she's all over you and drunk. If she is sloppy drunk,
Nope.
she is not consenting. She's not capable of consenting in that
Not
moment.
even close.
Yeah, and it does go
What
both
was their
ways.
reaction when you told him that?
This is one of those moments I really regret. I should have said rape, and I didn't. I
Wow.
said taking advantage. Because it was in front of the whole class, and I didn't want to call out this one young man when he was 18 and a freshman as possibly a rapist. Because it's not like he said he said something about, what's wrong with alcohol at a party? I mean, that's, he didn't come right out and say it, so I kind of didn't come right out and say it, but I regret it as well. Because what I should have said was, because what I said was, we have a term for that, and it's called taking advantage. And when I realized that, like, literally, like, the next day, I was like, I should have said rape. And I did write some very strong comments on his papers that nobody else saw. But I do, to this day, this is like 15 years ago, and I still feel guilty for not putting it in the term that it should have been put in. Because he didn't strike me, I don't know, who the fuck does, but I mean, he didn't strike me as an evil person. I think he just legitimately thought that, like, hey, a few drinks are nice, and then you get it on, or whatever. And in an adult relationship, where the person, I mean, my spouse and I, we like a couple glasses of wine before, romantic things start happening. Know each other. And we know how we work, and we know that we're not we know we're not doing anything wrong, and it's not just because we're married. It's because we've consented initially, like already. We're cool with the deal. We're fine. We're cool with it. And if somebody's not in the mood, they say, I'm not in the mood, and then we watch a movie or something. It's fine. So I just, it's very. You're right. It's very disturbing, and I feel like there was something else I was going to say about that, but. Ooh, I don't know. It just got.
I was just going to add on.
Please.
Because me and Peter on the other channel, we got into it bad with the street pastor, and it was gross.
Ooh.
And it was hands down. I will know this. It's already on air, so I'm hoping I'm not. Let's just say this person experienced some bullshit in her life, and she saw that interview. And she took something positive from it. So I will no longer call it the worst interview I've ever done.
Oh, okay.
But we talked about the topic of rape and alcohol and how it plays into. And really long story short, you just nailed it in that there's a difference between prior consent, knowing somebody, and even if, let's say I'm dating whoever, and this person has got a sexual boundary, and we've talked about the sexual boundary, and we get plastered that night, and I cross that sexual boundary, even if I'm in a relationship with this person, and we're drunk, and I take advantage of that person's sexual boundary, that their hard red line, congratulations, Robert, you just fucked up.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge difference between I don't know John or I don't know Susie, whatever the case may be.
Right.
And there's a huge difference between what you just said with you and your spouse to where there's a comfort, there's a trust.
Yes.
Y'all clearly know each other's lines. Yes, let's have a couple glasses of wine and turn this thing up.
Yeah, exactly.
But I bet you dollars to donuts without you even having to get personal. There's a line that you both know can't be crossed.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a huge difference between, yes, you can be drunk and have sex, but there's my one and only rule with first timers is it has to be totally sober.
Yeah.
Totally sober. We can't roll a joint. We can't have a single cocktail. That's my one and only rule because this has to be established. Now, we're 5 years into it. We can get sloppy drunk. We can roll a joint the size of my fucking dog. That's different. But
do you still have Jack Terriers or are they bigger?
Sober. Oh, that's my one and only rule.
No, I think that's awesome. I said, do you still have Jack Terriers or are they bigger? I was making a joke off of the roll a joint the size of your dog. But no, I also want to put something else out there while we're...
Can you see him over there?
Oh, hey, cutie. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Okay.
He's probably in the bedroom. Your audience wants to see you.
Yeah, we do. While we're on the subject though, I do want to talk about, especially if they're in long-term relationships, and it's and I say a lot of people, mainly I'm talking about people our age. I don't know. I didn't know for a long time that if you consent to a particular act, and don't worry, my brother's in the chat, I'm not going to go into specifics, but let's say you consent to a particular sexual act.
It's okay.
And halfway through, you're like, oh, fuck no, I don't like this, stop. That means stop. That means quit. That means no, don't do this anymore, no. And if you keep doing it, you just moved from consent to rape. That's what you've done. And as a young woman in the 90s and early 2000s, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that fully. And I had an experience that I'm, again, and very, physically painful and emotionally painful and very upsetting, and that I don't even remember it fully because it was traumatic. I remember flashes of it, which is weird. But that's kind of how trauma works sometimes in the brain. So it's just one of those things where, like, for the longest time, I kind of just put it in a box, like, for years. Stayed with that person. But said, you know what? I said okay initially, so it wasn't that. I haven't been assaulted. I haven't been raped. That's something that's happened to other people, because denial ain't just a river in Egypt or whatever. And finally, when Brett Kavanaugh was being, when the woman that he attempted to date rape was being deposed, it brought all this to the surface for me.
Yeah.
And I just went on Facebook and I went on Twitter and I was like, look, this is something that happens, and it happens all the time. And you think, you look at statistics of